Hi everyone and welcome to the Learning Lads. Today I'm doing my review of Learning Language Arts through Literature. This is the 10 edition, which is for 6th grade. So it comes with the teacher guide, the student book. This is half of it because I had to bind it in two separate parts. It also has the book studies. I choose to bind them separately. I just think it works out better that way, and for us at least. And then also you can find online separately the book study reading guide, which this is the first year I've used it and I actually do really like it. So this covers grammar, vocabulary, spelling, reading skills, creative writing, research and higher order reasoning. It is a 36-week programme and it also has 4 book studies that come with it. So book study A was Carry On Mr. Bodit, book study B was The Bronze Bow, C was Big Red and D was The Horse and His Boy. So we'll look at those in a bit more detail soon. So I wanted to show you the book study reading guide first because I find it really helpful, because in the actual program there's no point where it tells you to read so many chapters in order to do your book study, but it does actually say that in here. So you do have to download this separately. It's not part of the package. I don't know why it's not, but they just don't do it that way for some reason. So in here it has all of the books listed and it tells you when to read it in terms of if you want to complete it in the time frame they've suggested. So they make a reading plan for you. So if you want to read this particular book in 14 days, then day 1 you need to read this many chapters. It also does mention some questions in here that you can possibly answer if you'd like to, although in the actual book study there are specific questions as well. It does mention some of the activities that are going to be in the actual book study too. Again, this one will take 18 days. If you want to read it in this particular schedule, and so on. So I do really like this, and this is the first year I ever found it. I only found it purely because I was reading someone's blog post, a review about this level before I purchased it, and they mentioned in it that they'd found this reading guide, and that's the only way I found it. I've used this curriculum for several years now. I think we first started using it in, I want to say 3rd. I need to go back and check for sure, but I want to say 3rd grade. And I've never used a reading guide before, but I actually did really like it because, you know, it helped you to think about, you know, when to fit it into your schedule, because if this book's going to take 10 days, okay, well, I'm going to put it this part of the year and so on. So I did really see the benefit of that. So if you can find it online to download, it was a free PDF download that I found for that particular item. So in terms of the book, we'll look at the teacher guide first. Now, did I say, I can't remember, this is a 36-week curriculum, day 1 to day 5. It also has built-in review and assessments too. Okay, so we'll just look at a few different weeks. As I said, this is the second part of the book, but it'll still give you a good idea. I think I've boxed the first part away because we've recently moved. I don't want to get it out right now. But basically, it always starts off the same way. So you have a extract of a book. There's great literature in here. In this case, it's Little Women. Then you'll have what you need to do on day 1 through day 5. So on day 1, you'll read the literature passage. And then you'll have to write it from dictation. Compare your copy with the original, correct any errors. Then it talks about misspelled words. That's ironic that I should actually pick this letter, but that's this lesson rather. But that's how we actually spell them here. But anyway, it talks about misspelled words. So although the author was an American, she used the British spelling, yay, of OU rather than just OR. And then again, grey instead of gay. But anyway, that's just something that was just really ironic. But basically, you have to read it, then write it from dictation. They do give you spelling. So in this case, they pick spelling words either from the extract, usually, or something similar. We do actually use those, but we also do have a separate spelling program. Day 2 is some spelling rules about the DG and the J sound, some tips for spelling. Then we've got to copy and underline some of the spelling words. Add these words to your spelling list. Then we're reviewing the definition of a simile and a metaphor. We're finding metaphors in the paragraph, and this is what I really like about it, because you're referring back to the extract that you started at the beginning of the week. You need to write 2 metaphors of your own, review your spelling words. Day 3, we're looking for an infinitive, identifying the verb of a sentence, find them in this passage here. We're talking about suffixes, and then we're looking at antonyms. again, in your teacher guide, you have the answers on the side, which is helpful if you need them. Day 4, we're on to verbs, present, past and future tense. We're talking about regular and irregular verbs. It'll say optional enrichment, which is only in the student book, but I'll show you what that would be. We're not up to lesson 33 yet, but I'll show you what that would be in the actual student book. You do have the answers for all the enrichments, but they're in the actual back of the book, not in this section of your page. You have to find an example of a regular verb in the literature passage. Then we're talking about sticking to 1/10 when you're writing. And then it wants you to read the following paragraph, change any necessary verbs so that the text reads consistently in the past tense. Take your oral or written spelling pre-test, review any words you had difficulty in spelling. Then we've got day 5, do your spelling, write the passage from dictation again, choose skills from the review activities. So the review activities are on this page, they're different for every week. So if your student has struggled with any of these examples, then there is a section in here for them to review, should you like them to. So we'll look at the same corresponding week in the student text. So again, they have the extract, they have the space here for them to write the passage from dictation and compare it with the original. It again mentions the exact same questions that were in the teacher guide, but obviously with space for them to write, so I'm not going to go through them again. Again, same principle. So it looks pretty much exactly the same, apart from the fact that it does have space in there for them to write. The difference is the enrichment is in here. So this is the higher order thinking skills. And in this case, we're writing 2 words beginning with each letter for the categories listed. It's different for every time there's an enrichment activity. Again, so that they've got their space to write. And then the review activity. Now there are writing assignments built into this curriculum, and it does go through step by step pretty much how to actually complete that before it gives them their assignment. So in this case, there is an Aesop's fable that they have to write, but it's gone through, they've talked about fables, what's included in them and everything before you get your writing assignment. Again, in this particular week, they had to write an essay, and it does break it down for them. So it explains them how to start their outline, providing supporting details, checking thesaurus for adding new words and everything else. It does walk them through each of the writing process, which I really do appreciate. Okay, we'll look at another lesson. So this is lesson 31. This is Anne of Green Gables. The passage this time is much longer, but they only have to write down the from dictation the bold passage. I think the next level and up, it's the whole thing, but up until this point, it's only sections of it, including the 6th grade version. So in this case, it's Anne of Green Gables. Again, we've got some spelling words here. We're talking about spelling words within the literature passage, which I do really like. Again, it's bringing it back to learning language arts through literature. Then we're talking about predicate adjectives. We've got a writing assignment here. Think of a person you know or create a fictional character that you would like to describe in a character sketch. Write down words that you feel would be descriptive of him. And then obviously they've got, which I do really appreciate, because I think sometimes when children are writing, describing characters is not always the focus, that's more plot orientated. So I do really like that they have an emphasis on, when in their creative writing, of remembering to include things like this, which I think is really important. So yes, again, we're on grammar. Then write the 3rd paragraph of the literature passage from dictation, again for day 5. And then we've got using the 3 descriptive paragraphs of the literature passage, draw a picture of one or more of the characters, pay attention to details, review activities. Now I'll show you an assessment. Before I do that, I'll just show you again another review activity section so you can see what it's like. This one as well, this is lesson 35, extract from Invincible Louisa. They're discussing biographies and interviewing someone for a biography. So there is a wide range of assignments in here for writing for different non-fiction, fiction. It's not just all creative writing. There is non-fiction writing in here as well. There's just so much variety. Now, every single week doesn't have a huge writing assignment, but there's always some kind of writing involved in the week. And then periodically throughout, they'll get a big assignment like this one, where they're having to do a biography. And there is poetry as well included in it, so it's not just all fiction or non-fiction pieces. There are poems as well. So here's what an assessment will look like. It'll cover a specific amount of lessons. It'll tell you, what lessons it covers, and then there'll be different questions that they would have covered in that particular lesson group. And then obviously you've got the answers on your side. They'll just have this bit to complete. Now, in the appendix, you have all your enrichment answers from the critical thinking skills. We've got a skills index, prefix, suffix, and the biography. Now, one of the things that they had to do throughout this was to make a list of a prefix and suffix so that they would have their own, if you like, notebook of things to help them when they were writing. And they did include in the teacher guide some commonly used ones. So if they needed any help. So I did really appreciate that. Okay, so we'll look at some book studies and then I'll tell you my overall thoughts. So this is book study C, just randomly opened. So in this one we've got vocabulary here, completing vocabulary questions. We've got discussion questions. Enrichment is unscrambling letters. Then we have got activities. So it asks them to research the American Kennel Club, attend a dog show. Obviously, you can't do all of these things, but you can pick which ones would be applicable. Go to a library and look up different dog breeds. How are they grouped? What characteristics determine the different groups? So what I tend to do is pick a certain amount of activities. We don't do every single one, depending on how much she enjoyed the story. So the horse and his boy, again, Line, the Witch and the Wardrobe series. Vocabulary first. We've got discussion questions, activities, and then it suggests they read the rest of the series. Okay, this is a Carry On Mr. Bowditch. We've got vocabulary. We have got a crossword this time. More discussion questions, activities, journal writing, and then labelling parts of a ship. Mapping skills as well. And then book study B, the bronze bow. Again, vocabulary, discussion questions, and activities. So because we were doing Dragon Academy, which is my Wings of Fire unit study, we only read 2 of the books from the recommended 4. So we read Big Red and The Horse and His Boy. Only because we were doing 6 of the books with Dragon Academy. Otherwise, we would have done them because they were a good range this year. In the past, again, we've picked and chose which ones to do, which I think is perfectly fine. We haven't always done every single book, but even if you don't do every single book study, to me, the curriculum stands alone without that. That's just a really strong added extra to it. So my thoughts on the 10 level, very solid. Loved everything that we did in it. Grammar was fantastic. Loved the writing assignments that they had. It was a good mixture of fiction and non-fiction. Writing assignments. Loved all the literature that was in this particular level. Again, we really like the higher order reasoning skills. Some she likes more than others. She's not really a fan of crosswords. I think it's just something she's grown out of, crosswords and word searches. She's not that interested as much in them at the moment. But, that could be fleeting. She might get back into them, but she will do them. It's just they're not her favourite thing. So she does like the other type of critical thinking, detective sort of higher order thinking skills. And there are some in this level, but not as many as perhaps another curriculum like the Critical Thinking Company would provide. So I don't think the higher order reasoning is enough to stand as a standalone, but everything else is. So the grammar would be, in terms of my opinion, the writing is, because they explain as well as ask you to do it. So I think that's fantastic. And this particular level had a great amount of research in it, because every single level has a different focus, and this one of the focuses in this one was research. And there was many times throughout that we've had to do research. We haven't finished. We're on week 28, but I feel like we've done enough that I can give my opinion. So would I do it again? Absolutely. Would I recommend it? Definitely. We really loved this curriculum, and it's highly likely we'll continue to use it throughout. We do add our own spelling. That's the only thing I will say. They do have spelling rules in there, which you saw, and they do have spelling words for them to use each week, which we do utilise, but I do add extra spelling on top my personal preference. But overall, I think it is a solid curriculum. Highly recommend it, and we have really enjoyed the 10 level. So thanks so much for watching. If you've got any questions, leave them below. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care. Bye for now.